a sniff of the Salford line, it was really piss easy to score. Having said that, Cass's own goal line defence wasn't exactly exemplary either. That was the one abiding memory from this game for me, is how poor both sides' goal line defence was. I don't know, just so many of the tries. The Holmes try stood out for me as like, how on earth was that allowed to be scored? But Atahingano's was pretty easy on the flip side as well. So yeah, but it was a fun starter, and I kind of wish the scoring had gone on how it had started, because it felt like it could do, because it was 24 points in the first 25 minutes.
Yeah, and that's sort of alternate try scoring. You sort of as you said, it'd have been quite nice if it had continued for a bit longer.
Certainly for the neutral as well. It was kind of a game where you wanted whoever was behind to score next, to keep it going.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I think I didn't necessarily have high expectations of it. I think like you guys said last week, that it'd probably be quite high scoring. But yeah, I just thought I couldn't believe it that suddenly we were practically at half time and it felt like the game had only just started. So, which I think, always shows that you're enjoying it, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, certainly. McShane, a few people have mentioned him there. He started the scoring, didn't he, with a try that was a bit easier than it needed to be, but he got injured again. You got to think that he's going to battle his way back into the side, because that's what he does, but he's going to be way off fully fit in these next two games. They're going to have to figure out an option that probably doesn't involve playing him 80 minutes a game the next two games, but getting the most out of him that they can. Certainly, because you've got to think that the kicking game against Wigan was poor. They didn't really have much of a kicking game in this game, but they didn't really need it either, because they could just walk through Salford when they got in touch of the line. But that's an issue. What did you make of the sort of patched up halfback pairing? Because Matauti has got a lot of plaudits out of this game, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't look like a massively patched up pair. Like it's difficult to know always, isn't it? Was it the opposition that meant that they looked good, or was it that actually, they're both fairly decent players that managed to do well enough?
I think Matauti plays still kind of like a centre when he plays in the halves. In that, it's a lot more about his lines and his running than his passing and his guile. But they didn't need much of that guile and stuff. So his strengths worked really well in this particular game with the matchup that they had. I thought Salford looked more threatening when they had Kevin Brown on the field at loose forward, but at the same time that might have been a part of the explanation of why their defence wasn't as robust as well. So, I'm not really sure. I think they brought him back on too late, actually. I think that was something. Alan would have been absolutely loving it as well, watching from home. His secret favourite team scoring an unnecessary drop goal at the end.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people's bets that brought in as well, taking it from 10-point margin to 11-point margin.
Yeah, well, I think did Rob say that one of his mates' bets came in because of that?
Yeah. Anyone impressed for Salford? Tuilola here looked dangerous, but probably didn't quite get enough ball in. Didn't get enough opportunities.
The biggest. I felt like he was probably the biggest threat that they had. But then, the move to Salford's done wonders for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it sounds like he'll be reunited with Ian Watson at Huddersfield next year. So that might even, maintain that. He might keep that going back with the coach that turned him around as well a bit. Yeah. That will be interesting. So you hear all sorts of stuff, don't you, that you've heard all through the year, and Magic Weekend coming so late in the year, when you get to meet up with fans from other teams, everyone's got snippets of like, I've heard it from someone at the club now, so I'm starting to believe it, and that sort of stuff. And
you've heard it from Zach Hardaker's taxi driver.
Zach Hardaker's taxi driver, indeed. Leeds stitched him up, apparently. He still took the coke himself, but yeah.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to the second game on the Saturday. Let's face it, the main event. St Helens 30, Catalans Dragons 31. Liam Moore had the pleasure of refereeing this game. It was actually 18-6 to Saints at half-time after a really dominant second half to the first half. But it didn't stay that way. In terms of the stats, Catalans made more metres in the game, 163 more. St Helens made more breaks, 8-5, whilst Catalans made more errors and conceded more penalties, but then had a better team tackle success rate. So basically, the stats wins were decent for whoever won them, but they were pretty even when you balance them out on the whole, which is kind of why we ended up with such a close scoreline. Individually, Sammy Sony Lange, 5 tackle busts and 232 metres. No wonder Ignatius Passy wanted to put him into next week. Tom Davies, 6 tackle busts and 201 metres. Matt Whitley, 42 tackles and 109 metres. He went both ways. Mikael Gudemont with a try assist and 49 tackles. For the losing St Helens side, Mark Percival with a try assist, 166 metres. Tommy Makerson with a try, 161 metres and 2 clean breaks. Alex Walmsley with 147 metres, and Sione Matautia with 2 tries, 5 tackles, 121 metres, 2 clean breaks, and I think an impressive all-round performance from him. The Matautia's had a good day. We did get something out of the disciplinary on this one, no surprise really. The Ignatius Passy high tackle on Sammy Sony Lange brought a grade C charge. It's a 2-match penalty notice for Passy, so he will miss the remainder of the regular season, but be available for the playoffs. Lange, Catalans put out a picture on their social media channels of Lange looking, alert, alive and awake on the airplane home with the team, which I think is really good news because it was pretty serious and they stopped the game for a long time, didn't they? And they didn't show any replays of it at all, not one.
No, it didn't look good. It's an injury. It really freaked Joshua out, to be honest. I think because it happened pretty close to us, so you could see the fact that he didn't move at all, and all the rest of it. And yeah, the length of time that they were sort of working on him and everything else, was quite concerning. So it was nice to see that he had was okay and was able to travel back and things like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. You maybe had a better view, isn't necessarily the way we want to phrase it, but on the sideline view, we couldn't quite decide if it was a shoulder charge or a high arm. We couldn't really decide what the point of contact was, and it's still difficult too because on watching the replays, it's kind of from the behind, so you don't see exactly where the point of contact is, and they didn't show any replays. So just from watching the match, just going and watching the footage from the match is all I've seen of it. But obviously it was a bad one. Did you get to see much of how the contact came about?
I think I'm trying to think now. I think it was shoulder to head.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah.
We'd already had a couple of other sin-bins actually in the game, but they've brought no further punishment. Mark Percival for his high tackle on Sam Tompkins. I thought that one was slightly harsh, that it was a sin-binning, because I thought it was just a reach rather than a swinging arm, but I didn't mind it. It didn't upset me.
Really bad.
Oh, did you?
I thought that was bad.
Well, there you go.
I would have shown red.
And then Sam Cassiano's dangerous contact crusher tackle on James Bentley, and I think James Bentley's injured, but probably deserves it. No, I'm joking. No one deserves a crusher tackle. Just before half time as well. So there was some other things for Liam Moore to sort out. I think on balance he dealt with it all well, though. Do you want to do the fan views? Do both of Paul's, because it's funny, because he sent us a message, didn't he, after he'd done the first one saying, I'm going to have to do a new one.
Yeah. So, Pop the Viking said, a win for Saints, but not a classic of a game. Very stop-start affair. I agree the head injuries need to be managed correctly, but lots of stoppages for injuries that weren't. Physios seem to hold the head of a player when arriving on the field, meaning the ref stops play immediately.
Well, it's Lachlan Coote. He's always dead until he's not.
I know, until he's been given a penalty.
Yeah. And then he kicks it because he's not dead.
Yeah. Pop the Viking then said, take two. From a game that wasn't great to watch and stop-start, what a finish. Catalans brought it back to 30-13 Golden Point. Despite trying to conspire to their own defeat, they managed to turn around a defeat to a win. Saints fans and their chance of Catalans get battered everywhere they go for the majority of the game will be reeling after a game that they should have won turned into defeat.
I just assumed they were singing "We can get battered everywhere they go" rather than Catalans, but I don't know.
I wasn't too aware of them singing that. All we got was "Championes," which they weren't by the end of the match.
Well, there was lots of celebrating anyway, including the celebration of the Coote drop goal that never went over. That was from the chairman. McManus, which absolutely was glorious. Neil Ormston said, Karma, I fucking love you. Congratulations, Catalans, and thank you. You've done the sport of rugby league a great service today. # promote the panache.
Always in our shadow said, Ale, 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 what a finish, and Sam is still a wanker.
EFC78JU said, I actually thought St Helens had closed the gap on the half-time hooter as they were winning at that point until Catalan Dragons scored to keep their league leadership shield hopes alive. Saints scored their tries and Catalan Dragons brought it back, and I was nerve-wracking near the end until it was, I can't do it without a breath, level on Golden Point. It was finally that time. The French team slotted a one-pointer over to win it and the league leadership shield. Unlucky St Helens scum.
St David, I can do no better than Sean Locke's self-penned obituary. No! Why? No! Right, that's out of the system. Onwards to glory, boys. # repeat.
Alan Walker said, Magia, I don't know, magic in Catalonian. But we'll need to play much better when the big games come. I'd say this was a big game. But yeah.
David Hunter said, not sure what this really means. Are Catalans for real? Do Saints have a problem with closing out games, or does none of this matter come finals time?
I think they're rhetorical questions, aren't they? But Catalans are for real. I don't know if Saints have a problem closing out other games, though. This one, they certainly had a problem closing out.
We'll find out as time goes on, David.
Joshua's granddad said, a game with a bit of everything for 60 minutes. Quite ordinary as Saints strolled to a comfortable lead before the late consolation try became 2, and then a third as we all became Tompkins fans for a few minutes. Bloody ugly drop goal won it to shut the Scouse tossers at the back of the stand-up. More bottle on the cards, both Saints Reds. Oh, Moore bottled the cards. Right, I've got that now. Of course, we can't let a Liam Moore performance go past without slagging him off.
Fat Boy Raub. A Catalan's comeback after 75 minutes seemed as likely as finding out a bloke you've known for years is actually your wife's first boyfriend. But they both happened. Rat Boy said the entire stadium an outstanding dummy early on to put the champions in front early on, and then Le Drax took 70 minutes off before uniting the entire stadium in the final 5. # where's St David? # you're not singing anymore. # Pages X.
At MikeWeb58 said, well, 4 minutes of glorious madness. Never write off Le Drax. Both teams' efforts in the Golden Point period were painfully poor until Maloney changed from grub to match winner. However, there was enough in the other 76 minutes for Saints to feel confident going into the playoffs. And we got a late one in from DG Knight. He said, probably the best game I've seen all season, but I still have 4 more Magic games to catch up on. Saints put the cue back on the rack, but credit to Catalans for not giving in. Never write off the Dragons? ? I think a little bit overall harsh there for me on the overall game. I mean, the last 5 minutes made the game something special, of course, and it really was. And Sarah, if I'm ever feeling down, I'm going to watch that 5 minutes. Then I'm going to watch Eamon McManus celebrate Lachlan Coote's drop goal that missed, and then I'll feel a little bit better. But I thought the first 20 minutes of the game were really good as well. Catalans took the lead. They were playing their normal kind of expansive stuff and getting up the field. Saints then had the sin bin in, but managed to score